Alright guys, last week you started your first draft of your narrative story. Here is kind of a silly example to remind you of what a narrative should be. One, a narrative should have a beginning. It sets the scene. I should know exactly where you're at. I should know exactly who the characters are and what their names are, maybe even what they look like, and I should know your exact setting. Hopefully somewhere in your narrative last week you used the word safari, you used the word Serengeti, or you maybe used the word camp. In the middle, maybe there is some type of problem you run into at the camp, or maybe you continue to describe these series of events that you get to do in the morning and noon and at night. And in the end, maybe your problem is solved, or maybe it's the end of your day because of the narrative we're writing. Last week on Wednesday, this is what you started. Sorry, that got too big. Imagine you are on a safari in East Africa. You're staying in a camp on the Serengeti Plains while the wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles are migrating. You read an article all about that. Write a narrative about what you see and do on the safari. Use the details from the sources in your narrative. You can write your narrative any way you choose. You may write about the animals you see and about your thoughts and feelings while watching the animals. Perhaps you meet some interesting people or go on an exciting adventure. Just make sure your setting is the Serengeti Plains in East Africa during the early yearly animal migration. Hopefully, as I read that made sense with the story you started last week. Here was the first article you read, the Great Wildebeest Migration, how you read how they migrate, why they migrate, who they migrate with, and how it ends up just being one big circle and they get back. You could have used any of that information in your story. The next thing that you read was a camp guide of what safari is like. You learned what you did in the daytime, what you did and saw after dark, and what you could do at late night. If you talked about rhinos, here's information right there. So you need to think to yourself if you're on the right track and if you did all those things. If you didn't, you're going to have a lot of work to catch up with. Right now I'm going to teach you how you can find your story that you wrote, because Mr. Westhoff has kind of created it in a different way. Right here, this plus sign, you're going to click plus and always put it in a new tab. And you're going to go to your Google Drive. Okay, here's Mr. Westhoff's. It says My Drive, so I'm going to click on it. Yours might be somewhere at the bottom. You're going to click on Shared with Me, because Mr. Westhoff shared it with you. Okay, so you're going to click on Shared with Me, and you're going to go to the 3W blog. Here it is. Click on it. Well, next you're going to click right here, Narrative Safari. And then there's going to be these 5 folders. You need to think back of what was your number in school. If you were number 8, then you would be in this folder right here, students number 6 through number 10. So I click on it. Looks like number 8 was Braden. Braden's article is right here. He clicks on it and works on it today. Now tomorrow you're going to start editing. So tomorrow Braden can only work on these 5 documents. He's not going to go anywhere else. If you click on yours and you don't see your story, please let Mr. Westhoff know, because that means I have to go back and copy and paste. There were about 8 kids who weren't done when I did this, so maybe I didn't get yours copied over in time. You can go ahead and start your work.